Good evening. I'm Steve Lentini, Lord and Lentini, Training for Life and the Best Getting Better. And I'm your host for Different Thinking for Different Times. And this week's podcast is Season 1, Episode 8. So, what are some of the rules for living in a universe? And that takes a lot of different thinking, because most people think we live on an earth. And while that's true, but we live on an earth that's floating through a miracle. And most people don't stop and think of that, because they get stuck on their problems. They get stuck on drama in a relationship. They get stuck on the bills to pay, or how they're going to raise their income, or how they're going to live on retirement, or they get stuck judging others, running up and down what I call the ladder of life, being more than some people and less than others. And so I see that example when I'm out. There's people that'll be talking about other races, or talking about those that believe other than they do in terms of politics, and other than they do in any way, right? They are just less tolerant of people that are different. And that's what I call the small-minded acorn brain thinking. And that's one of the first rules in the universe, is to overcome your automatic response, your automatic thought, and to rise above that, and to start looking at what causes you to get upset, what causes you to react. And all those places where you're different are actually an invitation. It's a gift. Everything's a gift. We live in a miracle. And the gift of things that bother us is it's knocking on our door to stretch our thinking. And many people don't. They're just stuck in it. And now I don't know if they'll repeat life over and over again. I haven't gotten a glimpse of that. I did get a glimpse of the other side. If you've listened to my podcasts, you know that I flatlined on November 18th, 2002. So although today is my birthday, in the traditional sense, I have another birthday coming up, November 18th, and I'll be 17. Today, though, in my traditional sense, I'm 67. So to overcome the thinking of self-importance is one of the number one laws of universal thinking and different thinking for different times. And the goal is not to make anyone wrong for their journey and for their thinking, but to look at it as an invitation to stretch your thinking. Now, you don't have to get into a dialogue with other people who think differently than you, especially if it's going to escalate into anger, right? Which is the automatic thought that leads to the automatic response. Well, the heck with him if he doesn't agree with me. But we don't have to look far for people that don't agree with us. I mean, look at the different religions that fight. And when I died on November 18th, it was on the other side. There was no mention of religion. There was no sexes, no race. I was immediately one with everything and nothing, and it's just a knowing. And very hard to describe in human terms, but as Deepak Chopra described, we come from pure consciousness and we return to that, and that's exactly what I experienced. So you're not going to find a pope greeting you if you're Catholic, or a bishop greeting you if you're Episcopalian, or a rabbi greeting you if you're Jewish. There is no faith. There is no religion on the other side, but there's no sexes, there's no politics. Nothing from what I call the acorn brain is there. And so part of my job is to bring that thinking to everyone who can hear it. And maybe someday, I think 29 people have listened, maybe someday out of 7 billion, I've got a long way to go, there'll be a few billion that hear the message to expand their thinking and to stop fighting over all the things that the acorn brain enrolls us in, and to let other people have their journey. And if it's something that needs a negotiation, you have a dialogue and you compromise, right? Other countries can have a dialogue and compromise. Politicians, in fact, their job is to have a dialogue and compromise, not to keep pointing the finger at one side being right or the other side being wrong, vice versa. Both sides are trying to paint the picture. And it isn't just in this country, it's all over the world. You Look at fights that break out in parliaments, and it's all based on small-minded thinking. And so because you live in a universe, you live in something limitless, you have the power to bring limitless thinking with you everywhere you go. And the next thing is most people believe their story, so they get stuck in a drama and they replay it over and over and over, or they replay a mistake they made over and over and over. And guess what? It was a gift. It's there to get you to wake up. It's there to get you to make a new choice. You know what Einstein said, right? Keep doing what you're doing. You'll keep getting what you're getting. And you can't solve a problem based upon the same thinking that created it. And he also said, if you keep doing what you're doing and expect a different result, it's the definition of insanity. And so all of those quotes, and from the many masters in life, they are inviting us to rise up the mountain and see the other side. They're inviting us to overcome all our differences. And it doesn't mean you give up who you are. You're just less reactive. You're interested in hearing how other people think and why, without having to change their mind. That's their job, right? Our job is not other people. So another rule for living in the universe is to don't get stuck on drama, because what you focus on expands. And if you don't learn the lesson on things that keep appearing in your life that cause you upset, cause you to react, cause you to listen to that automatic thought and then go right into an automatic response, what you resist persists. Meaning the reason that you keep following that automatic thought and going into automatic mode is you haven't decided to rise above that thought. You're not learning that lesson, and so you're resisting the lesson. And what you resist persists. You'll just keep seeing it. Now, if that isn't a mystery, and it's part of the miracle of living in a universe, it isn't all going to be sunshine and lollipops. We have things to learn here. That's why we're here, and we're going to have challenges. But to look at them as challenges, right? Where you can say, I've got this. It's going to get handled. You might not even know how, but another law for living in the universe is how things are going to get done is not your job in the moment. Let it go to your higher power. Again, whatever you call it. I don't care what you call it because I know it doesn't matter. Let it go. You're not general manager of the universe. You can't control others, and many circumstances you can't control, but what you can control is your response. And so that's a really big law of the universe, is to learn the lesson that you're presented with, because what you resist persists. You'll keep wondering why you're getting frustrated over and over and over again. And that other part that I mentioned earlier was letting go of the story in your mind, because what you focus on expands. So you can choose limitless possibility thinking. Get off the drama and the story you're telling yourself about a neighbor, a family member, a spouse, at work. Whatever story that makes you a victim is keeping you stuck in that, because, again, that's a law. What you focus on expands. So when you catch yourself in a loop, when you catch yourself stuck, either recording the hurt that someone you think you perceived someone hurt you, or you're not forgiving someone, or you're carrying around the drama of a mistake you made, maybe the drama you caused, it's wasted energy. It was there to teach you something. It's all perfect. There are no perfect people. And those that walk around thinking they're perfect or they're better than certain people that made certain mistakes, that's their loop, right? That's their thing to get over. That is the gift in people that bother them, and moments they judge that make them more than someone else, that's their thing to get over. And it's not your job. And as soon as you get off this hurt that you have, the drama that you're carrying, this making yourself wrong about a mistake, it goes away. it goes away. And you can choose to focus on something new. You can choose to say, wow, I'm really blessed. And here are all the things that I'm blessed with. And that's gratitude, right? So there's another law, is to be grateful for everything in life. Now, you don't have to be grateful for everything. You can be grateful in it. And I think you could have a sense of humor and say, I'm grateful for that mistake I made because I learned this and that, or I'm grateful this person did this or that to me because this and that happened. I'm grateful the boss was an idiot because I quit my job and found something better, or I went into my own business and found something better, or I'm glad they fired me because it opened up new doors. Many of you probably know the saying that if you look too long on a door that's closed, you'll miss the doors that open. So the minute you get by something, you can see new opportunity and new doors open. And typically, if something got shut and you're hurting, it was because it wasn't yours. You cannot lose what's yours by divine right. So I don't want to overwhelm you with all the different laws, but I can tell you that it's all about different thinking for different times, and that everything has a law that's attached to it. Einstein was working mathematically to determine the origins of the universe. And things are mathematically ordered because we are floating we're floating, right, on a garden planet at the exact right spot around an exposed nuclear fusion plant that we call a sun to make it comfortable. And we call the universe infinite to give it a definition because we cannot even conceive of it. We can't even think of it in our mind. And so I know it's hard to think of overcoming all the reactive thoughts you have. And I can tell you for myself, I have them every day. I get the invitation to grow every day. And thanks to November 18th, 2002, and getting a glimpse of the infinite, I remember that moment daily and overcome a lot of that thinking, and I notice a big difference in my life. But you have to prove that to yourself. You heard Albie bark in the background. Even he agrees. And so don't take my word for anything, but write down some of the things that I suggest and prove it. Prove it to yourself. Start to picture yourself not reacting in certain situations. Maybe you journal the situations you're reacting in and make note of it and say, you know what, I'm going to just think about a new response and see what happens. Or maybe just because I know, I'll let go and see what happens because I want a new response. Maybe you picture a new response with someone that you have a conflict with. Or maybe you picture a new outcome at the place you work or at home when you come home from work. Picture something new. Remember, typically frustration comes from the idea that our plan isn't working out. When I say ours, that little tiny plan, the small-minded thinking. Instead, you could think, oh, this must be the plan. Surrender to it. And finally, that's another major law in the universe, is to surrender to the now. Be in the moment. When I was on the other side, the divine was everywhere. And it wasn't like it had to tell me. There wasn't a guy in white robes and a long gray beard with a big book saying, Lentini, which one are you? There's a lot of check marks here. All there was a life review of the good I had done, the lives I had touched. And funny how we spend so much time beating ourselves up for things, people we've hurt and mistakes we've made. And we forget that it's all happening. It's all working together for our good. We have lessons to learn. If you were meant to be perfect, then you probably wouldn't have been born. You would have stayed one with everything and nothing. You would have been one with the infinite. So remember, the divine is never separate from this existence, meaning even and especially the stuff that really bothers you is the divine helping you to grow, climb up the ladder. And so that's different thinking for different times this week. What I'd like to do is invite people that want to get interviewed, that have ideas that can help others, maybe something you've gone through and how you've gotten to the other side. I would love to interview you and have you as a guest on my podcast. So you would email me, steve@stevelentini.com, steve@stevelentini.com. I also do a lot of coaching and training about different thinking in different times. I couch it a little differently than I do this podcast, but I include all that work. I'm in corporate work doing culture training, sales training, and emotional quotient training, helping people to identify the emotional quotient. Right, the IQ is called the intelligence quotient. EQ is the emotional quotient, and you can expand that with different thinking for different times. And those are the kinds of things that I do. If you're interested in any programs or in coaching, just give me an email. I'm glad to help the right people. Not everyone's a fit, but I'll help you determine if you're a fit for my work. Have a great week. Talk to you next Thursday.